Welcome! I'm Johan Nilsson.
And I'm Lincoln Murphy, and this is Impact Weekly. We're here to help you make your customers successful. Each week, we answer your most pressing customer success management questions by relying on our years of experience with companies around the world.
Let's get this going. Hey everyone, welcome back to Impact Weekly. This is the podcast where we answer your most pressing customer success questions. And I just want to start by saying that we're getting a lot of questions in our inbox, but keep asking questions. That's what we're here for. So make sure to follow the link in this wherever you found us, and keep sending us questions. We love that. So just want to start off with that. Time to go straight into this week. So, Lincoln, this is what we have today. I think it's one of the most commonly asked questions. And it's basically, what do you do when a customer is ghosting you?
Okay. Yeah, that is very common.
Yeah. And I think just to level set here as well, I think it's important just to start with here is to say, we should not take this personal. We're professionals. We're working in a company, and this will happen to you. So don't let it become emotional. Don't block you there. I just want to say that because I think it's quite common that we actually. I mean, we're people, right? So of course, if someone is not responding, it can hurt your feelings. So let's try to remove that. But let's dig into this one.
Okay. Yeah, that's just a great point. And I think that was really good to kind of start with. You really need to look at this logically and try to figure out what's going on there. And I think if you're kind of stuck in that emotional cycle, which, like you said, we're humans, so of course exactly that's going to come into it. So that's really good. Yeah, and I think more level setting is required for this. I think we need to kind of talk about what ghosting is. It's one of those things that there's actually, so I think first and foremost, people may not know what it means. And then I think there's also some misconceptions, and I want to kind of address both of those. I don't know who first used the term ghosting in relation to customer engagement, but I'm 100% certain it was me. And I used it, and it is used. I won't take all the credit for it, but it's used in the same way that the kids out there were talking about it in terms of dating, which is you're talking to somebody, and then all of a sudden they're not there anymore. Right. They say that they ghosted you, and that's what we're talking about in this context with customers. But I think that also then has kind of, things have evolved to where ghosting now means really it's anytime a customer is not engaging with you, not just when they stopped engaging with you. And I want to be really clear. I don't care about the term. I don't care how you use the term. That's not the point here. But I think there is a distinction there that we do need to be aware of. And that is customers that stop engaging with you after they have are different from customers that never engaged with you to begin with. Both are bad. Yeah. Both may have similar root causes, but they are different. And when a customer stops communicating with you, stops engaging with you, that's a pretty big red flag, and we need to figure out what's going on there pretty quickly. So the difference is important. Again, the term, it doesn't really matter what you call it, ghosting or whatever. But the fact is, we need our customers to be engaging with us, and when they stop, that's a problem.
No, it's a great point there to separate those and make that difference. I think it's good for us to also think of it. How when we call a customer ghost, when we call them ghosting us, what's did I have an engagement? Did I talk to them, or did they just have I never had a conversation with
Right.
going with them. I think it's a really good point. And I think ghosting, why it's popular and why I mean, people frame it this way, it's because I think it's very clear what we mean here. So I think it's also why this term has kept why people keep mentioning ghosting in this in relations to customers as well, because I think people can relate to that, relate to the name there.
Sure.
I think also it's when we experience the customer ghosting us, I think it's also good to, I mean, turn the table here and ask yourself, am I ghosting someone in my life right now, and
Mhm.
why am I doing that? I think it's a really good way to put perspective to things. Sometimes we're really frustrated. We want to get in touch with a customer and they're not replying, and we kind of hit our head to the wall there. And instead, it's sometimes good to just, okay, this is happening right now. If I was the customer, why am I not replying?
Mm.
And usually there are some, I mean, there usually some common stuff that usually is the root cause, right?
For sure. I mean, and I think that perspective of, like, are are you currently ghosting, not even talking about in your personal life, just, is there a vendor that, or, somebody you do business with that keeps trying to engage with you, and you're ignoring them?
Yeah.
Why? Examine that. There's probably the reason that you're ignoring them, even though you should be communicating with them, you should be engaging. That might be very similar to why your customers are doing the same with you. That's a very interesting perspective.
I think so, yeah. And I think we can quite easily identify a few things there. I mean, maybe this person that's been, maybe they're trying to sell me a subscription to a new mobile phone, or to something like that in my personal life, and they sent over an offer, but it was too expensive, and I didn't reply to him that it was too expensive, but I'm just, avoiding him or her. I mean, I think we all do that in our life. It's just that when we're on the other side, we kind of forget. We don't look enough on all the perspectives here,
Right.
and I think that's where we want to go with this question as well, to help people, yeah, find a way to unghost their customers, right?
Right. But I think that's really interesting, and just something else that kind of popped into my head there was, um, sometimes we want to respond, um, but the response is going to take some thought. It's going to take some time, and we know that everybody is, just getting pulled in multiple directions. Everybody has less time than they would like to have to just do their basic job, and so, it's not like I don't want to respond to this person. The scenarios you put out there are certainly true, where I maybe don't want to respond. I don't want to admit that I can't afford that phone. I don't want to admit I don't have budget for that software. I don't want to admit these things. If I admit that, then, then it's true. But there might be situations where I definitely want to respond. I'm just going to do that when I have time, and of course I don't have time, and then that email gets buried in my inbox and I forget about it. So it's not like somebody is sitting there intentionally, um, thinking about ways to ignore you, right? That just other things may have gotten, prioritized ahead of your response,
Yeah.
or again, maybe they went off to do some research to respond to you and they got distracted, which also happens. So there's lots of reasons, and again, we have to kind of think about it from our perspective, and how we end up doing this with other people in our lives. And we're not always evil and nefarious in our
Yeah.
intentions. So maybe, cut our customers some slack there, but that does mean we do need to work to unghost them, because they're regardless of the reason, they currently are. So what do we need to do there? Um, but you brought up another reason that I think is interesting, before we started recording, on overestimating our own importance.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think one of the mistakes when you don't get a response is that you press harder, or you start sending them multiple texts and you kind of chase them. Sometimes we we end up in a maybe not responding in the way we that will actually on ghost the customer. And we believe, I mean, we in our perspective, our product is in the center of everything. We believe in it, of course, and we have big visions for it. But from the customer's perspective, maybe they have a lot of other priorities right now, and we kind of overestimate our importance in that priority list. And I think we need to have some, yeah, be a little bit be respective of that, what's going on the customer side here.
Yeah, I love that. I was just thinking about all the times where, I've definitely thought that what I'm working on is the most important thing, because to me it is, right. It's the thing that is the most important. It's what I'm working on, or my product is the most important thing to me and to my company, because it's our product. But to your point, like, it may not be the most important product that our customer uses. It may never be that, or it may not be that right now. Like, they just
Yeah,
started with us, right?
exactly.
It's not
Yeah,
something that's, we're not the center of their universe yet. Maybe we will be, maybe we will never be, and that's actually just fine. So really understanding what our importance is, I think is really critical. Someone once told me, when I said, are we teaching our customers to ignore us, which very often, we are,
yeah,
and they were like, well, they're not ignoring you. They just don't care. And, I wanted to
mm,
argue with them. I wanted to say, that's not true. We're teaching them to ignore us. They do care. And the more I thought about it, I was like, well, actually, that's kind of true. They don't care about
yeah,
us. They do care about something, which is themselves. They care about the results they're trying to get. They care about their objectives, their time frames for achieving that objectives, otherwise known as a goal. They
yeah,
care about what they're trying to accomplish. And what we're doing often is talking about us,
yeah,
talking about our product. And you say, well, but the product is what's going to help them achieve their goal. Yes. Are you talking about your product that way? Or are you
mm.
just talking about your
Oh, yeah,
product? Right. So
exactly.
I have there's I guess an acronym called WIFT, WIIFT.
Yeah,
It's what's in it for them.
right.
And if you can kind of always apply that to whatever messaging you're doing to your customer, where you're reaching
Mm,
out, you're trying to engage, think about what's in it for them. What's in it for them if they read this message and respond? What's in it for them if they take the action that you're asking them to take? That's a good little check, to make sure that you're sending messages that aren't going to be ignored because they're about
exactly.
the customer. Anyway, this is
No, but
it's an
that's
interesting
important.
thing.
I think that's really important. And also, even if you start talking about your product in terms of achieving goals for the customer, customers have different goals. So you need to make sure you are talking about the right goal for the right customer as well. Otherwise, you're doing the same thing, basically. You're teaching them to ignore you. You're talking about something that's not relevant, right?
I mean, absolutely. And this is where you can run into some trouble trying to create, templates and snippets that are going to go to all customers, is
Yeah,
you end up with something that's so generic that it doesn't resonate with anybody.
yeah,
And I'm not saying, don't use templates, and don't use snippet libraries that we can pull from. You have to do that in order to achieve any sort of scale, in order to achieve any sort of, continuity and consistency and all of that. But you should try to get as close to, what actually matters to the customer, as possible. So having different
yeah,
versions of messages that are going to go to customers that have different, initial use cases or have different stated goals, that's going to allow you to speak to them in a way that will resonate, so that they will initially engage with you and that they will continue to engage with you.
Yeah. I have even an example of how this really backfired. There was this one of our customers. They added a feature to their platform that was actually a competitor to a small group of their customers, and they sent that out to that group of customers as well. This is our new feature. We would like you to try it out. And I mean, that was that was like
Wow.
a disaster, of course, because that group, a lot of those customers ending up leaving that product, of course, because they saw them as a potential competitor going forward.
For sure.
So and that was just a small add-on that really was. I mean, that was not the main thing, but
Right.
just speaking of like when we try to if we guess too much what the customer is trying to achieve and what's in their what their goals are, we can actually hurt ourselves. So WIFT is really important.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, situations like that are sometimes, you know, hindsight is 2020, and it's sometimes hard to see something like that, you know, to see that that's going to happen. But, you know, what if you had taken a few minutes with the team to kind of brainstorm on what could possibly happen with this email? You know, maybe that would have come up, and maybe a crisis would have been avoided if we could have simply segmented those customers out and sent them a different message, right?
Yeah.
So instead of just leading with, "Hey, we're now competing with you," you know, maybe we could
Exactly.
have just either not sent that message, or sent them about something about other features, or spun it in a different way, whatever. Like, there was probably a different approach. And so, again, you're not gonna be able to see those things coming every time, but maybe there's some things that you could do ahead of time by just simply thinking about what is in it for them. If they take action on this message, you know, maybe that would have been like, well, if they take action on this message, or if they read it, they would see that we're going to be competing with them. That's a problem. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really interesting example.
Yeah. It's a
And
little bit exaggerating on that. I mean, how when it goes totally wrong, right?
absolutely, yeah, but it can. And so, you know, we really
Yeah,
need to
definitely.
avoid that, you know.
Yeah.
Whether it's one-off customers simply ghosting you, or whether you end up just, you know, alienating a large swath of your customers, this all adds up to an impact that can be negative, and we want to turn it around and make sure that it's a positive impact here at Impact Weekly. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
um, you know, what are a few things that we can do, kind of concrete things that we can do to ensure that either customers don't ghost us initially, or that we could do to maybe get them to re-engage with us?
Yeah. No, I think there's we have to. I mean, back to your what you started with in the beginning as well. I think it's important to understand, or have we had engaging customer that stopped engaging with us, or have we haven't had any engagement, and that can be because changes on their side, changes on our side. So it's quite important to understand the difference there. And I think another part of the solution here, to get back and unghost the customer, is also to try to see it as steps, instead of trying to achieve everything at once. Sometimes we need to. We're trying. We want to do a lot initially, but maybe we need to break it down in steps to open the door again, to
Mm,
build trust again, to
right.
yeah, whether it's that we have fallen out with the customer, or we haven't had the real engagement previously. I think it's really important to not try too much, because that's usually that's one at least one of the reasons the customer might be hesitant to get in a call with you, or in a business review, or whatever it might be. So
Right.
I think it's important to think of steps here.
Yeah, I think that you just kind of got me thinking there. Um, you know, I see this all the time with re-engagement emails. People try to, you know, want to send those to customers that have, you know, kind of, haven't interacted with us in a few months, maybe even. And maybe they're clever in the way that they, come up with a subject line that's going to engage, or they change tactics, they change senders and, recipients, or go through different channels, which is also something that you could do. And they get their attention, and then they make a really big ask, like, let's jump on a call. Well, again, I think that's not taking into consideration steps here. What could you do if you were to simply get their attention? Maybe start a conversation. Just ask an open-ended question, right? Instead of jumping to, let's get on a call and do a big review.
Yeah.
It's, tell me why you stopped using our product, or something along those lines. Tell me about your experience so far. Some sort of open-ended question that would just get them to respond. So I think, ultimately the solution here would be, number one would be to resonate. Make sure you're sending messages that actually would resonate with the recipient, so that initially they don't ghost you, or they don't initially they just simply don't engage with you, or that they don't ghost you in the first place. So whiffed, make sure it's about them. Then looking at sort of the root cause, why did this happen? Why did they start ignoring us? At what point, if they did start ghosting you after you were engaging with them, go back and look at the point where they stopped engaging. Was it that you sent so many emails asking for, really big commitments on their end? Was it emails that were being sent just about our product and nothing about them? Was it too many different interactions across multiple, modalities, multiple channels? You were just inundating them. Was it multiple people from your company all sending them messages, maybe messages that didn't align with each other? That kind of stuff. So we want to do a root cause analysis there. And then, finally, I brought it up earlier, but changing tactics,
Change. I mean, I like, we need to do something differently to get another different result, right? So change senders, recipients, the channels, get the retention, and explain why, or give them proof why they should keep engaging with you. I have a great example here. In my previous job, I worked with a CRM platform, and one of the easiest, most valuable things we could do that helped every customer was to help them remove duplicates. If you build a database, you always get duplicates. So like a great door opener to get back into and engage with the customer was to send the customer just to ask them, we identified X number of duplicates in your database. If you want, I can help you merge those free of charge. And that was like, then you started the engagement again. And then they asked them back, oh, maybe you can help me with this. And then you could open up the dialogue and say, okay, what are you trying to achieve? So that's what I mean by steps, to see it as small steps to really get back into it again. And then you can drive, and then you can make these big things with the customers.
Beautiful.
The last thing, change tactics.
Perfect.
Hey, thanks for listening. Do you want to bring your customer success to the next level? Check out Impact Academy. We have training programs for customer success managers and for leaders in customer success.